What's up guys, welcome back to Gladiators Tribe. My name is Grisha and you Glads have been asking me for the last few weeks to come back to reviewing rackets, and there we are reviewing the brand new Wilson Ultra V5, a slightly more refined version of the previous V4 generation. No crazy changes in terms of specs or technologies implemented, but I'm sure it's going to be better than the V3. The V3 was actually like the racket that I gave the worst scores out of all rackets on this channel, so yeah, that was fun. And unlike this beautiful, magnificent paint job, the V3 was absolutely horrible and disgusting to even look at. But yeah, so far all I can say is that it looks pretty, but I guess the most important thing is how it performs on court. So yeah, without further ado, check out the specs. Well, who would have thought that I would actually enjoy playing with the Ultra V5? It's definitely still not a racket for me, but I definitely like it way more than the previous one. It's an even easier racket to play with. It's super powerful, very spinny, the sweet spot, it's just massive, and for such a power-oriented racket, it's actually pretty stable. It seems like it's better than the V4 in pretty much every aspect of the game except for the paint job, because I do have to say that although this is not bad, it looks a little bit like a toy, whereas the previous one, like with that very dark blue kind of like matte finish, I absolutely love that design. This one is alright as well, but the previous one was definitely better in that aspect. But not only is it better than its predecessor, it's also better than the competition, because its main competitors are of course the Yonex E-Zone 100 and the Babolat Pure Drive 100, and I would take this over the Pure Drive any day of the week, and I would definitely want to compare them side by side with the Yonex E-Zone 100. But I mean, that racket is my go-to recommendation to anyone looking for a power and spin oriented racket, which is, you know, a pretty big deal. But now let's start with the shot by shot analysis, starting with the number one shot with this racket by a huge margin, the forehand. Glads, I've enjoyed slapping the hell out of every single forehand with this racket so much that I didn't even want to hit any backhands. And the thing is, you can play flat and slap the hell out of the ball, but you can also play with just insane amount of spin. It definitely has to be one of the most spin-friendly rackets currently available on the market, because the ease with which you're able to produce super deep top spinny cross courts, it's just crazy. And I know it's a 16x19 string pattern with a thick beam and whatever, and it's supposed to perform well on the top spins, but it was still a huge surprise of just how well it was top spinning the ball. But then at the same time, you can slap down the line winners without any doubts.
Glads, if you're already convinced that you want to get the new Wilson Ultra V5, and you should be convinced to get it, the link to get it, like always, is going to be down in the description below, together with our exclusive discount code that will save you some cash, and that also really helps the channel, so it's a win-win. But yeah.
But now comes the backhand, and the backhand is usually the shot that these rackets struggle the most with. And it makes sense why, you know, they're power-oriented, they're spin-oriented, 16x19 string patterns, thick beams. That makes sense that they have to compromise on stability and on feel, and those are kind of like the main things that make a good backhand. But if I compare the Ultra V5 to its competition, the Pure Drive and the E-Zone 100, I would actually pick the Ultra over them if we're talking specifically backhand, because for some reason it just performs better when it comes to stability and feel, and I just feel more confidence when hitting a backhand with the Ultra V5. You can't play flat and make down the line backhand winners, but the idea with this racket is to of course play with a lot of spin, because it's super maneuverable, and moving that wrist opens up a lot of doors and opportunities when it comes to approaching the net with a tight backhand angle, or doing a lob, or producing such a top spinny and deep defensive cross court that your opponent has to go back into defense themselves. And although this racket performs better on the backhands compared to the competition, I would pick my Head Gravity Pro or any other control and feel and stability oriented racket over this if we only spoke backhand. But now let's go ahead and approach the net. And although I keep talking about how well this racket can help you open tight angles, whether it's the forehand or the backhand, to go up to the net, I actually haven't played that many volleys because of just how much I've enjoyed playing with this thing on the baseline. But I mean, it's a maneuverable, powerful racket with a huge sweet spot, and all that combined always gives us a very good racket for volleying, for net game, or even to just play dedicated doubles. Now let's talk about its second best shot, and it has to be the serve. I mean, guys, the amount of power that you're able to produce with this thing on the flat serves down the tee is just insane, and you don't even need to put that much power into the actual movement. The racket does everything by itself. It's also really good when it comes to opening angles on the first slice serves because of the nature of the racket. It's spinny, the 16x19 string pattern, the thick beam and whatever. But I mean, serve was actually a massive surprise for me because the E-Zone 100 and the Pure Drive 100 were, I don't want to say disappointment, but were underwhelming when it came to my specific serve. And of course, this heritage of a top spinny and powerful frame also translates into really good top spin second serves, which were actually bouncing over my opponent without any effort whatsoever. So yes, definitely the serve is a highlight for me with the Ultra V5. So now into the question of who is this racket for? And although I have said a lot of really good and positive things about this racket is definitely not for me because I'm a guy of control, feel, and stability in rackets. That's why I myself play with a Head Gravity Pro that weighs like 330 grams. But if you're anything but a person looking for those things, this racket is definitely worth trying because it's very good for people who are just getting into the sport because it's very easy to play with, massive sweet spot, easy power, good spin, and it's just, you know, a racket that is going to be a pleasure to play with where you don't have to, you know, move your legs that much, where there's a pretty big margin for, you know, a wrong technique or movement, and it's just good for beginners and intermediate players. And although I've heard some people say that it's not really good for pros, I understand where they're coming from, but I mean, if you're looking for a powerful spinning racket and you're playing on the pro circuit, okay, maybe add some lead, add some silicone, maybe try experimenting with the leather grip or something, but I don't see why not. So yes, this racket covers a pretty wide spectrum of players, and I know very many very loyal players to the Ultra lineup, and in my opinion, this is by far the best one they've released so far. But that's it from me for today. I really hope that you've enjoyed this review. My name is Grisha, you're watching Gladiators Tribe, but before I say the goodbyes, it's time to check out the grades. And I will see you glad in the next one. Bye-bye.